Most homes, especially in the South, are built with decks. But what options do you have when it comes to performance or quality of deck boards?
This is our new video series, Behind the Build, where we take a deep dive into residential construction. This is episode 1, where we're going to go over 3 different options on deck boards.
We got 3 different types of deck boards here. Robert, can you just give us a dive into what we got?
Sure. So what we have here are 3 common deck boards that we see, kind of from least expensive to most expensive. Starting with the least expensive, we have just your standard grade, pressure treated, above ground rated, 5/4 by 6 deck board. The next step up is going to be a composite deck board. This is a little bit nicer composite deck board. This one has a 25-year fade rating on it. And the next step up, which is my personal favorite, is when we get into the Brazilian hardwoods, specifically IPE, and this one has a 60-year life. So bang for your buck over the longevity, the IPE is going to give you the most value for your dollar over the life of the deck.
All right, so let's take a deep dive into why you would choose one over another, starting with the pressure treated.
Okay, starting with pressure treated. So cost really is going to be why you're going to pick pressure treated. To achieve just a exterior deck or a porch, the pressure treated is going to be your lowest entry point. The downside to pressure treated is it comes soaking wet. Once it dries out, it typically starts to curl, starts to check. You have to stain it or paint it. Both require maintenance. You can leave it unfinished, but the life of the deck's going to deteriorate very quickly. You'd be lucky with a deck, particularly in the South, that doesn't have any type of covering, for it to last more than 5 to 7 years with no covering on it. The wood's just really going to fall apart on you quickly. The next step would be the composite deck boards. Again, this one has a 25-year fade rating on it. Looks a lot like wood. Actually looks very similar to our IPE product here. The downside that we've found with this product is the expansion and contraction, which they've gotten much better with. But the bigger issue I have with the composites is the amount of heat that it retains and lets off. If you want to do this on a deck or a porch that's close to a swimming pool where you're going to be barefoot, this is not a good option. Same thing next to a lake. You're just not going to want to walk on this one barefooted. It gets extremely hot during the summer and then the full sun exposure. The next option, and again, my personal favorite, is going to be the IPE. It's a natural wood. Again, it has a 60-year life rating for the deck board. You can finish or non-finish. Personally, I like to do a non-finish for the maintenance value. This wood in particular will graze out really nicely, and all it takes is a simple pressure wash to bring it back to life. You do have the option of sealing, but then once you seal it, it's just a maintenance issue to keep it looking good. The sealer will break down. The wood will stay the same.
So we've completed several projects using the IPE. If you scroll through our Instagram, you'll see several of them that we've done recently. What's the main reason you think that our clients go with that?
The main reason our clients go with IPE is most of our clients are in their forever house, or they're in a house that they're going to stay in for the long term. And they're looking for a low maintenance, very durable, very pretty deck board that essentially, most of the time what happens is we go out and they have either a pressure treated deck or some other type of deck system, and they're tired of the maintenance. And that's where we really offer the IPE or the ironwood to alleviate a lot of that maintenance over long term. Now, your upfront cost is more, but your long-term cost is, over the life of the deck, is really minimal compared to what it would cost to replace your deck every 7 to 10 years, plus the hassle of having to do so.
Looking at the cost difference for each board that we have here, kind of starting with pressure treated, kind of walk us through what we're looking at linear footage wise.
So pressure treated, currently it's running about $1.32 a linear foot. Composites, depending on which one you pick, runs about $187 to $752 a linear foot. And then when you jump to the IPE, you're actually kind of right in the middle of the composite at $353 a linear foot. So if you had a 20 by 10 deck, material-wise, just for the deck boards, you would be about $528 invested. If you had a 20 by 10 deck board with the composite, again, depending on which one you select, you're going to be $748 to $3,000 material invested just in the deck boards. And then on the IPE, same size, 20 by 10, material-wise, you're about $1,400 invested in the material. And so you can see that the jump, particularly the jump from a composite to IPE, is a no-brainer to me. To get a good composite deck board, you're going to spend more than what you're going to spend with a natural wood that's got a longer life, that has less of the disadvantages than the composite. And then on the pressure treated, so if you're $500 roughly for a 10 by 20, you have to replace that in 10 years, that puts you at $1,000. Well, you've already met that cost within 20 years, and you're going to get another 40 years out of this, and most likely you're going to get more than the 40 out of this. So you're not going to replace this, and the hassle of having to maintain this and or just have somebody come back and tear off your deck boards and replace them, in my opinion, it's not worth it.
So based on pricing alone, kind of no-brainer, we're thinking IPE. So just for the deck boards, kind of apples to apples, the cost investment isn't that much. But what are we looking at as far as maybe install or materials that it takes to install for the IPE that kind of make it a little bit different?
So for the difference in install, so the labor cost does go up on the IPE. It's a much denser wood. The material, it tears up your saw blades as you're cutting, so you're replacing those more often. It does require that you pre-drill all of your screws and your fasteners. You have to use all stainless steel fasteners with IPE. You do have an option where you can get it pre-curved, and you can do a hidden fastener, which eliminates some of the pre-drilling, which is the same thing that you can do with the composite. The composite, you can use either a hidden deck system, or you can fasten directly through the face. And same thing with the pressure treated, you can do a hidden fastener with a deck face. Biggest issue with the IPE versus the pressure treated and composite. Pressure treated and composite you can get at any big box store. You can also get all the materials to install these decks at the big box store. So when you swap to an IPE or Brazilian hardwood, you have to have a little more forethought in what you're ordering, when you're ordering it, and how you're sourcing that material, because it's not all readily available. The other item that we prefer to do while we're installing an IPE deck, so we still install it over a pressure treated deck frame. But to help the life of the deck frame, we use a flashing tape on top of our deck joist and anywhere that we're going to penetrate through. And so we've got the protection of the deck board on top, so it's not getting beat up by the sun. Then we do a waterproofing that lips over the edges of our deck boards, which protects it from the rain. Most of the rain just runs off and then dries out. So you can get the life expectancy out of the pressure treated if you set up your deck boards and flashing details correctly.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Behind the Build. If you have any questions or anything you'd like us to discuss here, feel free to comment below or shoot us a DM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you next time.